trying to push me out of the race. No! Well, let me say this as clearly as I can. I'm staying in the race.
President Joe Biden remains defiant as he kicks off a weekend of campaigning that could make or break his campaign. I'm Valerie Castro in for Gadi Schwartz, and this is Stay Tuned Now. It is a critical time for the president right now, still dealing with whiplash from that weak debate performance last week. The number of Democrats asking him to step out of the race is slowly growing. A third House Democrat calling on him to step aside, Congressman Seth Moulton of Massachusetts. His spokesperson confirmed it today. Add that to the fact that some wealthy Democratic donors are saying they will no longer fund the Democratic Party until Biden drops out of the race. But the 81-year-old president is seemingly unfazed as he is set to embark on some high-stakes appearances this weekend with the goal of tempering the anxiety of a lot of Democrats. And that includes a big primetime interview tonight. Here's a sneak peek.
Let's start with the debate. You and your team have said you had a bad night. But your friend Nancy Pelosi actually framed the question that I think is on the minds of millions of Americans. Was this a bad episode or the sign of a more serious condition?
It was a bad episode. No indication of any serious condition. I was exhausted. I didn't listen to my instincts in terms of preparing, and I had a bad night.
You know, you say you were exhausted, and I know you've said that before as well, but you came, and you did have a tough month, but you came home from Europe about 11 or 12 days before the debate, spent 6 days in Camp David. Why wasn't that enough rest time, enough recovery time?
Because I was sick. I was feeling terrible. Matter of fact, the docs with me, I asked if they did a COVID test because they were trying to figure out what was wrong. They did a test to see whether or not I had some infection, a virus. I didn't. They just had a really bad cold.
All right, let's bring in NBC's Aaron Gilchrist to break it down for us. Aaron, let's start with that interview. What's the goal here for Biden and his campaign?
Well, Valerie, the White House has said very clearly that a president has to prove himself, and the events today were a part of the effort for him to do just that. We heard from President Biden 4 times today, once reading from a teleprompter at that rally in Wisconsin. He spoke very briefly to a smaller group in an overflow room at that same event. And then, of course, he sat down for that interview with ABC News. And then right before he left Wisconsin, he answered a few questions from the White House press corps that's traveling with him. He was defiant and consistent in his message that he is absolutely staying in the race. In the interview, Biden said that he doesn't have any serious condition, as you saw there. It was an episode on debate night that we all saw. He said he was exhausted and had a bad night there. And what we heard from him, I think, over and over again today is that he has no intention of leaving this race. He said he's in it to win it and that he will beat Donald Trump in November. Those were his words. The campaign says we should expect to see more of these unscripted moments, Valerie, where we will be able to hear from the president without speechwriters having sort of worked for him in advance.
And Aaron, we know Biden is also hoping to hit all battleground states in July, right? What's on the agenda now? How is he hoping to make this campaign push?
Yeah, the campaign says that the 4 principals, as we call them, the president, vice president, first lady, and second gentleman will travel to all of the battleground states different points this month to talk about the administration's work, what they see as accomplishments, and to talk about issues that they say are facing the country right now. Obviously, we saw the president in Wisconsin today. He will be in Pennsylvania on Sunday. The first lady was in Michigan this week. The vice president will be in Nevada next week, while the president is hosting world leaders here in D.C. at the NATO summit. And we know that he will also hold a news conference, a solo news conference during that summit. Again, I think an opportunity for the American press and the foreign press to ask him some questions, which, Valerie, he will, of course, have to answer, again, off the cuff.
And finally, Aaron, these reports of wealthy donors withholding funds unless Biden steps down. How serious can this be for Biden and the Democrats?
Well, this could absolutely become a problem if there is a mass defection of high-dollar donors. We know that the campaign has talked about having a good presence with grassroots, smaller-dollar donors. But one of our colleagues at CNBC spoke to Abigail Disney, an heiress of the Disney family fortune, who said that she's not donating anymore any more money to the Democratic Party until Biden leaves the race for president. Now, there's a campaign official who told me that she actually had not donated to the Biden campaign in this election cycle, but still there are other high-dollar donors who have expressed a similar sentiment to Ms. Disney. I did speak with another big donor today who told me that the debate didn't change his plans for donating or helping to raise money. He said that the president's speech today in Wisconsin, he thinks, helped to calm a lot of donors. And so we will see what happens after this interview airs and whether any of that changes for the better or worse, Valerie.
Yeah, it'll be a busy month for the president. Aaron, thank you. In California, an already active wildfire season is only getting worse, and scorching temperatures have a lot to do with it. A new wildfire near Yosemite National Park sparked up overnight and has led to an evacuation order for the entire town of Mariposa, which is becoming a troubling trend. We saw thousands evacuated earlier this week due to the Thompson fire still burning north of Sacramento. And if you need another reminder to be careful during this heat wave, rangers at a national park in Arizona demonstrated how in just 3 hours inside a hot car led to dashboard temperatures well over 200 degrees, hot enough to bake banana bread. Something to keep in mind as millions across the country are seeing temperatures up to 25 degrees above average. But down in southeast Texas, it's not just the heat they're worried about. Tropical Storm Beryl is now taking aim there, and it could be back to hurricane strength when it arrives. The record-breaking storm swept across Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula this morning and spent the week leaving a path of destruction across the Caribbean, killing 9 people. We have team coverage tonight. NBC News meteorologist Bill Cairns will have the forecast. Guad Venegas is tracking Beryl. But first, let's go to NBC News correspondent Steve Patterson in Mariposa County, California, where the French fire is burning. Hi, Steve.
Yeah, Valerie, 'tis the season where we're just bouncing from fire to fire. There are so many new ones sprouting up all over the state of California. This one hitting Mariposa hard. You can see behind me this outbuilding completely charred out, though thankfully this seems to be the worst of it. This is not a home. We haven't heard of any homes damaged because of how quickly firefighters fought back. This is 840 acres or so, take it or leave it, but it's acres into the woods, not onto the green. This football field, the high school, protected. This is emblematic of what has happened in this community because firefighters acted quickly, getting a perimeter. We hear now there is some level of containment on this fire, but this is just one of many fires burning across the state. There are more than 20 large active fires, including the one that I came from, the Thompson fire, which was, we just left. It was more than 3,700 acres, nearly 30,000 people evacuating from their homes. One of them is a woman named Lynette. Her and her dog had to sleep outside of a shelter for 2 days in 110-degree heat because they didn't have room for her dog. This is what she told me. Listen. She had panic?
It was panic because my dad didn't want to leave. And I told him, you got to get in the car right now. And it was hard because he can barely walk, to get him in the vehicle, to get all of his medications and everything, some clothes and enough money to... We don't know how long we're going to be out.
And just to leave you with some good news, we literally just heard from Lynette. She texted us. She, her dog, her dad are all back home and safe. Evacuations in that area lifted, and people are able to go back into their homes. She says she's doing great. Back to you.
All right, Steve, thank you. The Texas coast is already under a hurricane watch as Tropical Storm Beryl churns in the Gulf of Mexico, where it is expected to regain strength. The storm made landfall in Mexico this morning. NBC News correspondent Guad Venegas has more. Guad?
Valerie, the storm made landfall earlier today in Mexico, just north of Tulum in the Mayan Riviera, an area that is visited by tourists from all over the world. A lot of Americans go to this area. Now, the biggest difference between this part of Mexico and other parts of the Caribbean where the storm has caused a lot of damage is that this part of Mexico, the Yucatan Peninsula, has a lot of big hotels, large structures that have been built to withstand the force of a hurricane. The first reports coming from Mexican authorities indicate that there was some damage to some of the roofing in that area, as well as the power infrastructure. They did report a lot of down utility poles and a lot of clients that were without power throughout the day. They also asked people to remain in place as they assessed that damage, and also because of the damages that the downed power lines were causing. This as the storm made its way through the Yucatan Peninsula and into the Gulf. Now, attention for the next few days will be placed on where the storm is heading, with the latest forecast indicating it could be heading towards Texas. This is the same area in Texas that was affected by Alberto just 2 weeks ago, that brought a lot of rain and wind. And these are the two things that authorities are going to be watching for, right? You have a storm that can come in with a lot of wind that creates danger, but also the flooding, the rain, the water coming into that part of Texas that, as we've seen from other storms, can easily flood. It's important for people to pay attention to the forecast, because the forecast continues to change, right? When we first began reporting on Beryl, we had it going to the state of Veracruz and Mexico, and then the forecast said it would move north to Tamaulipas. Now it says it's going further north into Texas. Meanwhile, state authorities have already set resources aside. The Texas Division of Emergency Management has vehicles in place for emergency rescues. They have the National Guard and other state agencies that the governor announced will be ready to work with cities and counties once the storm begins to hit Texas, to bring in these resources if they are necessary. But for now, we will be paying close attention to see what happens as the storm moves over the Gulf. Valerie?
Okay, Guad, thank you. Let's turn now to NBC News meteorologist Bill Cairns, who is tracking all the severe weather across the country. Hi, Bill.
Well, good Friday to you, Valerie. And of course, all eyes this weekend will be on what Beryl does. Does it become a hurricane again? How strong does it get? And where on the Texas coastline is going to be pinpointing for the most wind damage, rain, and of course, storm surge also. So the storm is now exiting the Yucatan. Been here all day long, made landfall earlier around Tulum. It weakened as expected. All these tropical systems do over land. So it's not a surprise now that it's down to, a tropical storm. But it's going to be over pretty warm water, some of the warmest water on the planet over the next 3 days before it makes landfall in Texas. So if conditions get just right, then it could try to intensify, maybe even quickly or maybe even rapidly. So right now, heading off the coast, and you can see the cloud pattern. The bright red show you where the thunderstorms are, and there's not a lot left. It has rain, obviously, with it, but we'll wait and see if it gets over water tonight and tomorrow. If the thunderstorms start flaring up, then if they can wrap around it, then all of a sudden you get a stronger storm. So the Hurricane Center doesn't think a lot of development's going to happen tomorrow. Notice as we go throughout even Saturday afternoon, kind of similar to how it is now. But by the time we get through Sunday, conditions get a little more favorable for it to start to generate, and then it gets to 70. Hurricane Center has it going to 75, just off of Brownsville, South Padre Island at 80 miles per hour. All of a sudden now we're a hurricane, and then right before landfall, intensifying up to 90 miles per hour. So that's enough to do some wind damage, even on the Texas coast, who's used to getting storms like this. It's not going to cripple the region, but every increment higher, we get more water pushed towards the coast with the storm surge, and the wind damage is just a little bit worse. And notice that we're not too far away from this now in Houston, so you're staring at this closely too. So Brownsville to Houston is the target area. Our little spaghetti lines that we've been tracking, they're in kind of excellent agreement between Brownsville and Houston here. Most of them right between Rockport or Corpus Christi to Victoria, that area of the coast. And that means the east side would be the higher winds and also the more storm surge and the highest rainfall totals too. No matter what the intensity, this is going to have a lot of rain with it. And we all know what happens when it rains hard in Houston. It's not pretty. And right now, we're predicting this eastern half of Texas should be picking up somewhere between 4 to maybe 6 inches of rain, isolated totals up to about a foot of rain possible. And so this will be the concern for the Houston area. I don't think it's going to be the winds at this point, but the rainfall definitely. And then the other story, and this has been an equally big story all by itself, is this incredible heat. Record highs today, Redding 115. Your all-time record high is 118. You got a chance for that tomorrow. Lake Havasu City hit 120 today, tying your record high. We're very close to a couple other spots. And then on the East Coast, we snuck this one in. It was easily broke the daily record. At one point, in between hours, it hit 106 in Raleigh, breaking the all-time record high, which goes back to the late 1800s. So that's like a long period of records. So that was pretty incredible. And the heat's going to continue through tonight and tomorrow. We'll almost have about half the population of the country under either heat advisories or heat warnings. In the east, it's not only hot, it's extremely humid. The heat index value, 105 still in D.C., 100 in Raleigh. Earlier today in Raleigh, it was 118. in the shade. I mean, that's brutal. In the west, it's a dry heat, but of course, we got all the fires burning, so that's dangerous too. Medford and Sacramento. And as we've been advertising, the deserts get really hot this weekend. Vegas could set their all-time record high. If you break it, it has to be 118. 117 is that record. Palm Springs, 121. And Valerie, in Death Valley, there's a place, a weather gauge at Furnace Creek. It has a chance of getting up there close to 130 degrees. It'll easily be one of the hottest spots on the planet.
Wow, Bill, too hot for anyone. Thank you. Now to the holiday rush on the roads and in the air. People are beginning the trek home after the 4th of July. It looks like Sunday will be the busiest of the long weekend. More than 3 million are expected to take flights that day, with millions more driving. NBC's Priya Sridhar is in Atlanta with more. Hey, Priya.
Hey, we're at the world's busiest airport, and this travel weekend is expected to break records. TSA was projecting 28 million people would pass through their checkpoints over the extended 10-day holiday travel period, which is set to end in just a few days. But we haven't even hit the peak day just yet. That's expected to happen on Sunday, with 3 million people passing through those TSA checkpoints nationwide, breaking the record that was set on June 23rd at 2.99 million people. And get this, American Airlines is saying that Sunday is expected to be their busiest day of the entire summer. Now, in addition to Atlanta's airport, Denver and Dallas-Fort Worth are also projected to be the busiest for this holiday travel week. So if you're planning on passing through any of those airports, make sure that you leave early. Now, TSA says that out of the 15 busiest travel days they've ever recorded, 12 of those have happened since mid-May. So what does that translate to? Well, lines, and more lines. So if you are planning on coming to the airport, make sure you get here early, pack some snacks, and a little bit of patience if you're planning on coming here. Now, we did get a chance to speak to some travelers today. Let's take a listen to what one of them had to say about his travel journey.
Nah, just people running for flipping planes and everything. I almost missed my gate. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. Almost missed my gate, man. I got lucky, man. I was like one of the last few people to get on. My dad always told me come 2 hours before, but I never listened. So, yeah, man. I almost faced the consequences today.
And it's not just the airports that are expected to be extremely crowded. 60 million Americans also chose to road trip 50 miles or more away from home this July 4th holiday travel period. Sunday is also expected to be the worst day as far as traffic congestion. So AAA travel experts say try to hit the roads before 11 a.m. if you can. Valerie, back to you.
Okay, Priya, thank you. And don't go anywhere. We're just getting started. Up next, after 14 years, there is now a new party in charge on Downing Street. We'll have more on the UK's new prime minister and what's in store for the country. Plus, there are two types of shoppers these days, those who choose the self-checkout lane and those who avoid it at all costs. And now we're seeing a surge of stores that are bringing back the human touch at the checkout. NBC's Brian Chung has that story. And later this hour, space junk falling on people's houses is actually a thing these days. And families that have had this happen to them are now looking at their legal options. Angela Sinadella joins us later this hour to break down their cases in tonight's Future of Everything.
It was expected to burn up in the Earth's atmosphere. However, that did not happen, and the object tore through the roof of the home in Naples.
Welcome back. Let's take a quick look around the world. Brazil's former president Jair Bolsonaro is facing his second indictment this year. Police are recommending charges for money laundering and embezzlement connected to gifts from foreign leaders while in office, including an attempt to hide millions of dollars in diamond jewelry he got from the Saudi government. Bolsonaro was indicted back in March for allegedly falsifying his COVID vaccination card. People in Iran voted for a new president today, and for the first time in a long time, the outcome is not easy to predict. It's between an ultra-conservative who is promising more social restrictions and a reformist who says he wants to do the opposite. Both men are looking to replace former President Ibrahim Raisi, who was killed in a helicopter crash in May. Today, Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban was in Moscow meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin just a few days after paying a visit to Ukraine's president in Kyiv. Recently, Orban has talked in vague terms about a ceasefire between the two countries, but acknowledged after his 2-hour meeting with Putin that when it comes to Ukraine and Russia, their positions are, quote, very far apart. And staying in Russia, an American named Robert Woodland has been sentenced there to 12.5 years in prison on drug charges. He was arrested back in January and has been in Russian custody ever since. Woodland's lawyer says he had pleaded partially guilty to the charges. He was born in Russia and says he had traveled back to the country in 2020 to find his birth mother. And today, a major transition of power in the UK. Britain's new Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, and his Labour Party celebrating their first day in office after a huge election win yesterday. NBC News international correspondent Raf Sanchez has more.
Hey there, we watched as Britain's very quick transfer of power took place here at Downing Street. Outgoing Conservative Prime Minister Rishi Sunak leaving for the last time, and just an hour later, Britain's new Prime Minister Keir Starmer, fresh off his landslide election victory, walking through that famous black door with his wife for the very first time.
This morning, Britain has a new Prime Minister.
We did it! We said we would end the chaos, and we will. We said we would turn the page, and we have. Change begins now.
Keir Starmer's Progressive Labour Party winning last night's election in a landslide, their biggest majority since Tony Blair won in 1997. Starmer defeating Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's Conservatives, who have led Britain for the last 14 years, including through Brexit, and are now reeling from their worst loss in 2 centuries.
I have heard your anger, your disappointment, and I take responsibility for this loss.
Starmer, a strong supporter of NATO and Ukraine, is now the leader of America's closest ally. His politics and policy closely compatible with President Biden, but could be at odds with Donald Trump if he wins in November.
I think Keir Starmer will stand up for what he believes in. When it comes to foreign policy, our support for NATO is the cornerstone of that.
Starmer grew up in a working-class family, but was knighted by then Prince Charles in 2014. His formal title is Sir Keir, and he'll be the first knight to lead Britain in 60 years.
But I think he feels a bit embarrassed by it because it takes people away from the message he's actually trying to say, that he's actually an ordinary person.
An unlikely knight now stepping up to lead his country.
Tonight, the aftermath of a horrific robbery in L.A., creating ripples on the other side of the globe. It all happened on Tuesday after 2 men tried to rob 68-year-old Patricia McKay and her husband at a Barnes & Noble bookstore. McKay was dragged into the street by one of the robbers and struck by the getaway vehicle. She died at the scene. Leaders from New Zealand, including the Prime Minister, have issued statements about the incident, calling it a devastating loss. Let's bring in NBC's Adrian Broaddus to tell us more. Adrian, any more details about how this happened? And do we know if this was a large-scale robbery or a mugging gone bad?
Well, Valerie, investigators in Newport Beach, California, are still sorting through all of the details. It's unclear whether or not this couple from New Zealand was targeted or if the 3 criminals had plans to hurt others. A short time ago, the district attorney released a statement saying that their shopping centers have become targets, claiming that it's an area where criminals are targeting and stalking people trying to rob them. This couple was husband and wife, 68-year-old Patricia and her husband from New Zealand.
And do we know any more about the suspects involved in this?
We are learning more about the suspects. We know the 2 youngest are 18-year-olds. That's Michael Edward Darnell, as well as Jaden Cunningham. The other suspect is a 26-year-old who is no stranger to law enforcement in Los Angeles County. That is Leroy Ernest Joseph McCrary, having a history of crimes in California, including 3 felony convictions, according to the Orange County District Attorney. Now, the DA also stating that all 3 are being held without bail as they face multiple charges, including murder. What's interesting is that none of the suspects are from Newport Beach.
And we know that the victim's husband was with her at the time when all of this happened. Do we know any more about how he's doing?
Her husband, Doug, was with her, and according to police, the 3 suspects forced him to the ground, demanding his watch, holding him at gunpoint. Investigators say he did try to help his wife, who was dragged about 65 feet with that getaway car. And investigators say physically he was not hurt. But I do want to go back and also underscore that there was some sort of disagreement between Patricia, her husband, and the suspects. At some point, a third suspect arrived on scene with the getaway car. This was after shots were fired, and they were leading police on a high-speed chase. Police also say someone, a Good Samaritan, tried to help, and that person was also in the crossfire of the gunfire, but they were unharmed. Valerie?
Okay, Adrian, thank you for that report. Coming up, a fiery train derailment in North Dakota. More on how it happened on the other side of the break. But first, you got to see this. That is green liquid gushing from the ceiling of Miami International Airport. There it is. A pipe leak led to the sea of neon green flooding the airport's concourse Thursday. Airport officials say this was actually just water dyed green, so it could be traced back to the AC system that was leaking. It was not hazardous and was quickly cleaned up. But what a mess. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Here are some of the other headlines we're watching tonight. At least 3 people are dead and multiple others hurt after a driver crashed into a New York City park yesterday. The driver was suspected of being under the influence, not even wearing a seatbelt. Police say the man ran through an intersection, jumping a sidewalk before hitting a group of people. The park was filled with families celebrating the 4th of July. The driver had a suspended license. He was arrested and taken to a hospital. Look at this fire in a remote part of North Dakota. 29 train cars derailed, igniting the massive flames earlier today. They were carrying a bunch of hazardous chemicals, but there wasn't any immediate threat to nearby areas. Both the engineer and conductor got out safely. The cause of the derailment isn't known yet, but the NTSB is now investigating. 24 apartments were damaged in a massive fire in Charlotte. 6 people, including a firefighter, were evacuated at the scene. No one was taken to the hospital. A team of 60 firefighters put out the flames in about an hour. As for the cause, officials say a candle left unattended on a balcony was to blame. The damage is estimated to be over $1 million. Wisconsin's Supreme Court overturning a ruling that outlawed most ballot drop boxes. The decision basically allowing broad use of those drop boxes. It could have a major impact on the battleground states' elections, especially heading into the 2024 presidential race. The National Weather Service is warning a dam in Wisconsin could break literally at any moment. The Manawa Dam already failed, with major flooding possible downstream on the Little Wolf River. The area has had some pretty bad flash flooding today. Officials have been evacuating certain areas and setting up an emergency shelter. New data out today could pave the way for the Federal Reserve to begin cutting interest rates in the coming months. The economy created more than 200,000 jobs in June, but the unemployment rate rose above 4% for the first time since 2021. NBC senior business correspondent Christine Romans has more.
New numbers out today showing fresh signs the economy is possibly cooling. In June, the U.S. added 206,000 jobs. That's only slightly more than the 200,000 expected by economists, and it's down a little bit from the prior month. Really important. Industries that saw the most hiring included government, which added 70,000 jobs, healthcare, 40,000, and construction. That was reported 27,000 additional jobs there. Wages also showed strength, up 3.9% year over year. Now, that outpaces inflation, but it's really important here. It was below 4%. So even while it's strong, it is also cooling. Cooling, the important word in the entire report. Meanwhile, the unemployment rate unexpectedly ticked up for the third straight month to 4.1%. That is a key stat for the Federal Reserve when it comes to considering an interest rate cut later this year. And that small pickup could mean the Fed's rate hikes are starting to work their way through the system. Fed Chair Jerome Powell saying earlier in the week that while it does appear we're headed in the right direction, the Fed will need more data before making any cuts. It has been 2 years since inflation reached that peak of 9.1%. Now at 3.3%, all eyes turn to next week's new inflation data in the hopes it will see a further decline.
All right, are you team self-checkout or team cashier? Well, it looks like more and more businesses are opting to put the human touch back in checking out. NBC News business and data correspondent Brian Chung has the story.
Do it yourself. That's the idea behind self-checkout lanes. A way to skip the pleasantries and skate out of the store quickly.
Super fast, easy, convenient.
But more and more stores are now hitting cancel on those self-checkout machines.
Item canceled.
Dollar General says it has pulled self-checkout from about 12,000 stores. And Five Below hoping to eliminate self-checkout options in its highest risk locations. Both companies saying theft is the main reason, as 15% of users confess to purposely stealing at the self-checkout lane.
Entering in a cheaper type of produce when they're scanning their groceries, or just pretending to scan something and just bagging it anyway. It's one area where retailers are noticing too much that.
Then there's the user experience.
For shoppers, self-checkout is supposed to offer the convenience of just scanning and then going. But sometimes it ends up being more trouble than it's worth.
Please wait for assistance.
Definitely where I have to wait for someone to come in and fix it, and it's just a waste of time.
The solution? Bringing sales associates back.
Is more profitable for the retailer to pay employees to manage checkout than it is to support the machines where they're probably getting less than accurate checkouts from consumers.
Self-checkout isn't going away, though. It's on the rise at grocery stores, making up 44% of transactions last year.
If your store decided to take out all the self-checkout lanes and put in regular lanes,
I'd be really disappointed.
A battle of humans versus machines playing out in the checkout line. Brian Chung, NBC News, New York.
And still ahead, the facts about sunscreen. There's lots of misinformation floating around right now about sunscreen. We're going to separate fact from fiction after the break, so stay tuned. Welcome back. Here are some of the stories happening out west that we're following. Independence Day turned deadly in Huntington Beach last night. 2 people were killed, 3 others hospitalized in some sort of stabbing. Police say they responded to reports of an assault after 11 p.m. They've detained 1 person, but it's still unclear what exactly led to the stabbing. And fireworks gone wrong at a stadium in Utah. Multiple people were hurt after the explosives veered off into a crowd yesterday. 6 people were hospitalized after the fireworks struck members of the audience. It happened during the so-called Stadium of Fire show in Provo. Local officials are now investigating what exactly went wrong. Health officials confirming a new case of measles in the Seattle area. Other people there may have been exposed as the person was infectious while traveling to a bunch of spots in King County, Washington. Officials there are urging people to get their measles vaccinations. At least 4 people have been bitten by sharks so far over the holiday weekend. Yesterday, we told you about the 3 attacks on South Padre Island in Texas, where officials are now asking beachgoers to stay out of the waters. We're also learning about another attack in Florida yesterday, where a 21-year-old was bit while knee-deep in the ocean. NBC News correspondent Morgan Chesky has more.
Panic on South Padre Island following one of several shark attacks.
I can't imagine that I actually had a shark attack. It's kind of crazy.
Holiday beachgoers watching in horror as rescuers pulled Tabitha Sullivan from the water, bleeding from a vicious bite to the leg.
I just thought it was a big fish, so I went to kind of kick it away. And at that point, I think it's when it bit me. And had I not pulled my legs up, probably would have got my torso or something else.
Kyle Judd caught the aftermath of the attack, including the shark responsible.
To witness the shark that did the attack stay so close.
It was crazy. He was literally circling right in front of him as they were, treating her on the beach.
Just down the beach, Victoria Ramos shared her own frightening close call.
Little bite marks on my calf, but I'm all right.
In Florida, another victim recovering after officials say a shark bit a man's foot at New Smyrna Beach in knee-deep water. Experts stress violent shark encounters remain incredibly rare, with 36 unprovoked attacks reported nationwide last year. Tabitha credits her husband for saving her life.
He fought off a shark for me. I mean, that's pretty impressive.
With surgery, she now hopes to make a full recovery.
I'm thankful for all the support. And I'm alive.
And tonight, ahead of a busy holiday weekend, experts say if you are attacked by a shark, don't play dead. Absolutely fight back using whatever you have and try to target the shark's vulnerable areas, such as its eyes, nose, or its gills. We'll send it back to you.
All right, now to an alarming trend gaining steam on social media. Some wellness influencers are making false claims about sunscreen, and it's causing more harm than good. But NBC's Ann Thompson sets the record straight and tells us why sunscreen is so important.
Just in time for the dog days of summer, a wave of misinformation about sunscreen flooding some social media sites.
The sun does not cause skin cancer.
I think sunscreen causes skin cancer.
Sunscreen is a scam. As a teenage lifeguard, Jessica Jordan says sunscreen was not a priority.
When I was younger, I didn't wear sunscreen. I was in the sun 24/7.
In her late 30s, she says she paid the price.
I have basal cell carcinoma. There's so much skin damage that it cannot be undone.
That's what dermatologists like Jennifer Stein want people to avoid.
Damage can accumulate in your skin, which eventually could cause skin cancer and definitely ages the skin, gives you brown spots and wrinkles.
Skin cancer is the most common form of cancer in the U.S., with 9,500 people diagnosed every day. The most serious, melanoma, is expected to kill some 8,000 people this year. Sunscreen can protect you. There are two kinds, chemical and mineral. In chemical sunscreens, UV-absorbing ingredients, oxybenzone and octinoxate, can have toxic effects on marine life. Sunscreens with those ingredients are banned in Hawaii, Key West, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. If those chemicals are a danger to marine life, are they dangerous to humans?
Right now, we don't know. There's a question mark. So if you're not sure, you can just go with the physical sunscreens for now.
Those are the mineral sunscreens with zinc oxide or titanium dioxide. Doctors say you should use a water-resistant broad-spectrum sunscreen with an SPF of at least 30 and apply it every 2 hours. Prevention to make sure your fun in the sun is safe. Ann Thompson, NBC News.
Right now, there are millions of pieces of debris whipping around Earth, kind of like a cosmic junkyard, from big stuff like satellites and the International Space Station to the small stuff. Think nuts and bolts and other parts of defunct spacecrafts. So what happens when the space junk falls back down to Earth? Well, sometimes it burns up in the atmosphere, but sometimes not so much.
A hole right in the floor. NASA confirmed that it was, in fact, part of a pallet that was thrown out with 5,800 pounds of aging batteries back in March of 2021.
It was expected to burn up in the Earth's atmosphere. However, that did not happen, and the object tore through the roof of the home in Naples.
Now, that family in Florida wants NASA to pay up to the tune of $80,000 in what legal experts say is a case that could redefine responsibility in the space age. NBC News legal analyst Angela Senadella joins me now. Okay, Angela, help us out here. Legally, does the source of the debris matter, and what kind of precedent could this case set?
Yes, Valerie. So the source matters a lot. And ironically, the rules of responsibility are much clearer if that source is another country, not if it's the U.S. So international law governs what happens if it's a foreign actor, a foreign country that launches that debris. But in this case, it appears to have been NASA. And that same international law does not dictate what a country does and how they compensate their own property owners and their own victims. Now, in terms of the precedent, the family has two options here. First, they could just file the claim with NASA, which it appears they're doing now. NASA could just acknowledge it, pay it, and then that would set the framework moving forward. But if NASA refuses it, then this family has to file a federal lawsuit against the government. And that is super tricky, largely because they have to prove that a government employee was negligent in causing this debris to fall. There is actually a precedent here from the Supreme Court in the 1970s, not with space, but with the military. And there, these military jets caused a sonic boom, which then resulted in property damage in California. And this family sued, but the Supreme Court said that it wasn't enough to prove the military jets caused the damage. They also had to prove the military was negligent. So it's an uphill battle, Valerie.
All right, so it's not going to be an easy case. Space junk we know can come from anywhere. China, Russia, the U.S. sending up all sorts of things all the time. Is there any international cooperation on figuring out that legal responsibility?
Yes, there actually is. So as I said, the international treaties govern to make it much more easier to know who's responsible if it's a foreign country. There's something called the Artemis Accords, which now have 43 member countries in it, just most recently Armenia as of June 2024. And this accord really displays and discerns responsibility based on whoever launched the object. So not who caused the most damage, but whichever country launches the object would then be responsible, absolutely, regardless of negligence. They don't have to prove that like they would if it's your own country.
And countries and governments aside, there's also private companies launching rockets into space, SpaceX and Boeing. Who's responsible there if it's a company behind it?
So it's much easier to sue a private company in this country. Our justice system is set up for that with lawsuits and litigation, civil galore. But the issue is really a problem with suing the government. So that goes out the window. If it's SpaceX or Boeing, it's much easier just to bring action against them.
All right. Like you said, we might be seeing more of this as the years go on. Angela,
Definitely.
thank you so much. For many people, traveling with a pet can be a rough time, but now a first-of-its-kind airline is trying to change all of that, giving man's best friend a first-class experience. NBC News correspondent Maura Barrett got the first tour inside a Bark airplane.
Anyone with a pup as part of their family knows flying with your dog can be a rough ride.
Hi.
The CEO of Bark Air, the first ever airline catered to dogs, knows that a little too well.
Today I'm going to fly like a dog in a crate.
How do you feel about a 4-hour flight?
I don't feel good about the next 4 minutes in this.
The new airline's motto is dogs fly first, and they mean it. That's why Bowie and I decided to check it out.
Oh, good job. From the minute you make the booking, everything is about the dog.
Catherine Enos is the chief of staff, who curates the VIP experience for dogs like Bowie.
Everything is thought of for the dog. You know, we have the water bowls, we have a whole selection of Bark kind of goodies over there. We have a whole doggy fine dining menu where you can choose from doggy champagne or a Barcacino or a bunch of different fine dining treats for the pups. Did someone order doggy champagne?
Talk about bon appetit.
You ready?
As for the other amenities, or amenities as they call them, Bowie barked yes to the pup freshen up spa service and made his way up to the cockpit to visit the pilot. The first flight took off in May, the airline initially only offering routes from New York to LA or London. Now they've already expanded to 5 more cities, with more in the works. A ticket, though, for each dog and their human will take a bite out of your wallet, starting at $6,000.
This experience is something that I'm sure every dog owner would be super excited about, but the cost factor is kind of prohibitive.
Like anything, the longer it's around, the more common it is. The prices should lower. We'll be able to take on more risk as a business.
Some of that cost goes towards the experience leading up to the flight and after as well.
We didn't want to fly you to a destination and then say you're on your own from here on. So we do a complimentary car service up to 30-mile radius.
And for those looking to take dog walks across the pond, Bark Air takes care of all the international paperwork, too.
Yeah, we're really just trying to take the stress out of it.
The sky used to be the limit when it came to pet-friendly travel, but now it seems anything is possible.
First, I have to give a big special thank you to our colleague Kate Snow for letting us borrow her perfect pup, Bowie, to come and do this story with me. But look, this isn't going to be an option for everyone, even with the business plan, the models to scale down costs in the near future. But there are ways to commercially travel with your dog right now. If it's a smaller dog, it's a little easier because you can just put them in a carrier, slide them under the seat. With a bigger dog, you have to buy a second seat, and there are pet fees often involved. Those costs do add up, but not all the way to $6,000 like we saw there. And so doing this story shows now more than ever, people are really holding their pets closer to their hearts, and it's all exemplified in this desire to travel with them. That does it for us tonight. I'm Valerie Castro. Have a great weekend. We'll see you Monday, but until then, stay tuned now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.